That 790 mark for the rand seems to be elusive. It's proving to be quite a hurdle, and we're looking at the rand a laggard where risk appetite has been improving, especially if you're looking at it versus the euro dollar and also against compatriot currencies which have surged ahead. What do you make of the kind of movement we've been seeing on the local unit?
Well, certainly we've seen a tremendous appreciation in the rand, but you're right in saying that to an extent it's been a laggard in terms of this risk rally, which has also been quite surprising considering the stellar performance that we've seen on the JSE. One would have anticipated that with it making these record closes consecutively over the last 5 days, that certainly would have seen the rand being able to maintain its break below that R7.90 level. But I think that has a lot to do with the fact that we're not seeing broad-based rand strength coming through. It really seems to be only a sort of dollar weakness story, and the rand seems to only be making significant traction in that regard against the dollar.
Of course, when it comes to the euro, we've got all eyes on the PMI estimates that are anticipated out of the Eurozone territories this afternoon. What are your expectations on that front? Because at this stage of the game, many looking towards it to mark a possible turning point in the recession being reached.
I wouldn't go as far as to say that it might mark a turning point in recession. We expect that Europe is likely already in recession, and our expectation is that those countries are going to remain in recession for the greater part of this year. So certainly wouldn't be calling for a turning point in the short term. But as far as today's data is concerned, I mean, another weak print is expected. I think a marginal uptick in the PMI, but still expecting it to remain well below that neutral 50 level. And I think that's just indicative of the kind of weak state that we're seeing in global manufacturing data. If you recall, we had the China's PMI, the advanced estimate for January, also released, I think, a week or two ago, and it was also quite disappointing. So certainly, I'm not looking to see a revival in that sector anytime soon. With
that, prospects for the leading indicator, which is being released here in South Africa, can't seem too promising. So run us through forecasts on that end.
Well, the leading indicator actually did tick up. The last data point was for October, so we'd be getting November's numbers this morning. Not expecting a huge increase in the leading indicator. This, of course, gives an indication of how the economy is expected to perform about 9 months ahead. But looking at the high-frequency data that was available for November, it doesn't really seem all that inspiring. So we might get a mild month-on-month increase, but in line with our view for this year, we still see the economy remaining under pressure quite significantly this year. Growth is expected to slow, and we're expecting 2013 to also be quite a negative number. So we might see these mild or month-on-month improvements, but certainly nothing to get excited about.
So run us through then your forecast for the trading range on the local unit side, and let's start off first of all with a dollar rand.
Well, we still see potential for the rand to strengthen today. As you mentioned, that 790 level would be quite key. But that, it's difficult to say where the impetus for such a move would come from today. So probably going to be fairly range bound. I think everyone looking ahead to, firstly, there's PMI numbers out of Europe, and then also importantly, we have the State of the Union address in the US later this evening, although local time that will be early hours of this morning. So those two key events are probably going to be crucial for the rand today, and that would kind of decide whether we're then going to make that crucial break below the 790 level, perhaps 787. But as I said, it's difficult to see where that impetus would come from.
Well, as you had forecast, we've seen that sentiment indicator come higher. The South African Central Bank's monthly economic indicator nudging higher for a third month in November, increasing by 0.6% month on month to 132.2, and that after another slight increase that we saw, of course, as you said, in October. Nomvuyo, what do you make of that number? Pretty much in line with what you were forecasting, right?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, so a month-on-month increase, but quite modest, and really nothing, I think, that would indicate that the economy is likely to pick up speed significantly in the months ahead.
On that note, let's leave it there. Nomvuyo, thanks so much for your time today. Nomvuyo Guma, Macroeconomic Strategist over at Standard Bank.